welcome back. This is the bake part, or the edit part of my last video where I went down to the park and the river. I'm going to take one photo and show you how I edit it. Now last time I did this, I did 2 photos and it took too long. The video was too long. So on this one, I'm just going to use 1. I hope that you learned something and I hope you enjoy this. If you do, thumbs up for me. And if you really like it, please subscribe. So let's go right into Lightroom. Okay, so here we are in Lightroom. This is the image I chose. This is the raw image straight out of my camera. This is the photo, the final photo. The reason I chose this photo is because on my Facebook page I got quite a bit of good feedback on it. If you've not been to my Facebook page, I'll give you the title here in the text. But this is what we're going to start with. So let me go to the developer module, and I took everything off it. I'm not going to do one of my presets. I'm going to show you exactly what I do. So right away I'm going to take the highlights down to about 50. I'm going to take the shadows up to about 50, and then I'm going to I hold down my option key on my Mac, and I'm going to move the white to the right until I get something show up. Okay, there. Now I'm going to pull back until I have like 1 dot. There we go. Now I'm going to do the same with black, except this time I'm going to go to the left. I'm going to hold down my option key, go to the left till I see something show up there, and then I'm going to back it off till I have 1 dot. There we go. Now overall the image looks a little bit magenta to me, so I'm going to take out some of the magenta look. Magenta is this color up here. I moved it towards the green. I like my winter scenes to be a little more blue. Now down in details, I give it about 60% sharpening, and if there was sky in here, I would mask out the sky. There is some masking going on here. Now the ISO on this was 2200, so I'm going to zoom in quite a bit, all the way up to 400 on this black area. You can see the little magenta splotches in here. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to use my color first, and I'm going to move it until those magenta colors disappear. Right about there. Then I'm going to add some luminance. Not too much. If you go too far, it looks fuzzy. And now go back to fit. Okay, let me hit the backslash key so you can see a before and after. This is the after. Before, after, before, after. Now another thing I do is I remove chromatic aberration, and I use enable profile, and it automatically picks up what lens I shot when I did this picture. Okay, and effect. I usually go -14. I take all the feather off, and it usually starts in the center like that. I like to go just the edges, kind of like that, and then I feather quite a bit till I can't see any line there, about like that. Okay, now I'm going to go back into my basic panel, or I should say not into my basic panel but my crop tool, and I'm going to straighten up the tree a little bit. I'm going to use the angle tool here, so I'll click on it and kind of draw a line right down the center of the tree. Kind of like that. Okay, and that's what I'd go with. Now I'm going to take this into Photoshop, so I'm going to hit Command E on the Mac, and it's going to open this image in Photoshop. And I'm going to use, as soon as it opens up here, I'm going to use the action that I built, and I promise in the near future I'm going to show you how to build this action for yourself. But I'm going to click on the action. It's going to build 3 layers: darken, lighten, and saturation. Okay, so now I'm going to start with darken. I click the mask and I look at it and I say, which areas do I want to darken? And I use the bracket key to make the brush bigger, and I'm going to darken this area and this little spot right through here. So brush, make sure I'm on the white here, and brush. And I'm going to brush here. Now it's overdone. Don't worry about that. Now what I do is I go in and I double click on the mask. I feather it. and I go all the way with smoothness. I say okay. Then I click off and on. It's still overdone. So what I do is I take it down to about 50 normally, 50 opacity. And then I turn off, on. You can see just a subtle, and if you hadn't seen me do it, you wouldn't notice that. Okay, now I'm going to zoom in on my tree, and I'm going to use my lighten. So I clicked on the mask, B for brush. That brush is way too big, so I use the left bracket key. Make it about the size of the branch, and I'm going to click up here and hold down my shift key, click down here, hold down my shift key, or click there, hold down my shift key, and I'm going to do this for all these little branches. And I always sound like Bob Ross when I do these things. Okay, so let me turn that off and on just so you can see how much it popped the tree. Now I'm going to zoom back out, and now I'm going to add some more to this mask. I want to add some emphasis here, so I'm going to go to my brush tool again, B for brush, make a nice bigger brush, and I'm going to draw right along here, right along there, right there, maybe pull down a few lines. It kind of leads the eye to the tree, something like that. Now let me shut that off and on. Okay, so now I need to reduce this. So I'm going to take it down to about 50%, someplace around 50. I'm going to double click the mask. I'm not going to feather this as much because they're a finer line. And okay. Now the saturation, we go to it, and I'm going to use this size brush, and I'm just going to paint around the tips of this tree. So I pop the color around the tips, the base here. Now this is overdone. Again, I always overdo first, kind of so I can see what's going on. I like this fence row, like this little row of grass here, and this one. Okay, so I'm going to turn that off and on. You can see how it pops the color. Going to turn that down to about 50%. Double click on it, feather it a little bit, smooth, okay. And now I'm going to shut off the darkening. You can slightly see the change there. I'm going to shut off the lighten. And I think I could turn that down just a little more. There we go. And now the vignette, or I'm sorry, the saturation. You can see how it pops color. Now I'm going to flatten this image. Excuse me. And I'm going to use my Easy Panel 2, that's a free download, and I'm going to hit Detail Enhance. Now this is going to take a while, so I'm going to edit this out of the video so you're not waiting. Okay, so Detail Enhance got its job done. I'm going to shut that filter off, the Detail Enhance layer mask here, or layer I should say, it's not a mask. I'm going to shut it off, turn it on. Now that's overdone, looks too crunchy. So what I normally do on this is I take it down to about 20, 25 or so. Now I'll turn it off and on. Let me zoom in. Okay, that's on, off. It might be hard to see on the computer screen. It just gives it a little more sharpness. I'm going to flatten the image, and now I'm going to hit Command S. That saves it back into Lightroom seamlessly. And now we're back, and we have 3 images down here. We have the original image that I did my Lightroom adjustments. We have the first edit, or the sample that I showed you, and the new edit. And it still looks a little magenta to me, so I'm going to take a little more green, add a little more green to it. And that would be it. I would be done. Thanks for watching, and if you've enjoyed this or have any questions, please leave a comment.